What's up, YouTube? All right, it's on today.
We should not say a single word till that comes out. What's up, YouTube?
Yeah, bam. It's an exciting day today.
Yeah, we had a beanbag. Some say cornhole, some say bags. We had a tournament today. Oh, you mean in reefing?
In reefing.
No, it was a fun day in the office too. I lost on purpose. I have 2 trophies from this beanbag tournament thing from the years past. I lost on purpose so I could focus on you guys in today's live stream.
Yeah, that's what you said.
That is 100% untrue.
All right, Biome today. Cycling tanks this week in reefing.
Yeah,
Biome.
we're setting off on like a 60-day, 90-day journey. I don't know if anybody how many people don't remember the chaetomorpha testing? Out of nowhere we opened up this Pandora's box of questions to be answered and what chaetomorpha can do and what a refugium can do. I would say we completely revolutionize or change like the whole algae filtration approach from like 4 years ago. This has the potential to do that again.
All right, so yeah, exactly that. So biome testing, we're talking about cycling tanks today, but we're not just talking about, we're gonna share the experiments that are coming. We're setting them up right now. The data's gonna start coming in. We'll share it to you guys in real time. But I think there's a lot to learn about, cycling a tank just isn't about ammonia anymore. Come along with the journey today, and yes. I think that you'll agree by the end of it. You're also gonna learn something. We'll also figure out what this experiment looks like, so we're gonna share it with you. But yeah, I think in that chaetomorpha thing, man, we found out, you know what? At the time, I heard from everybody that having a refugium was kind of like a joke.
Yeah, it's not effective. It doesn't really
kind of sucks some nutrient out.
Yeah.
Even in my mind, I was like, well, what if you took up 25% of it? That means I could skip a water change once a month, maybe.
I remember trying to get you turned on this refugium. We were having these conversations about refugium versus zeovit. We were doing the zeovit, well, zeovit minus that coral or that one additive. We were doing zeovit on the 160, and then we started talking about this refugium thing.
Boom.
And then Triton came out and was like, hey, let's turn it into a refugium. Next thing we know, it's like, let's actually test this thing.
Let's test a $5 light next to
a $100 light.
Yeah, $100 light next to another one that has 10 times the amount of power on it, and 10 times the nutrient uptake. Who would have guessed? All right, so today we have some of the things that we took some notes on what cycling's gone wrong, what is biome in a reef tank, and the first one is.
Well, the question is all right. So how do we consider cycling today, and why is it so different than it was in the years past, like early on? And this first bullet hits it. Live rock's not available as much or hardly at all, if any, live rock available. How many tanks did you set up where you had live rock like shipped to you, or you got from stores?
In the beginning, it was all live rock.
Yeah,
right? That was the only thing that was
really
around.
It's not like you can go get some Texas Holy Rock from the pet store and start up your saltwater tank.
That didn't exist then. But now, dude, it's almost exclusively dry rock.
Dry rock, dry sand. And not dry sand, like wet sand or live sand, but it's freshwater bacteria in there that doesn't really replicate in saltwater.
No. So I bet you 90+% of tanks are all now started with dry rock in one way or another. So that's a big one, because basically when I took a piece of live rock out of the ocean and I put it in my tank,
instant tank.
It wasn't just like ammonia bacteria, man. There's like a whole biome, and you're gonna see a little bit of it in a second.
Biome.
But like, there's so much more to it than just whether it's gonna process an ammonia into nitrogen.
I mean, there's out of the hundreds of thousands of bacterial strains that exist in the ocean, this very, very, very tall, tiny sliver are ammonia detoxifiers. But what about the rest?
Yeah, so like it used to be kind of, like with you just put the rock in there, everything kind of comes.
Yeah.
Like a wide variety of stuff comes. And especially if you cooked it, then a lot of that stuff would stay, but some of the photosynthetic stuff would go. All right, so another one is a piece of one of the questions we're going to answer or look into is, part of the reason this conversation isn't bigger is this just wasn't a skill set that was required before.
Yeah. Well, if you had availability to live rock, you dumped it in the tank, you put your stuff in there, and it was off and running.
Live rock just did it.
Yeah.
I mean, and part of the conversation is live rock just isn't available anymore. You can't take it out of the ocean the same way. And if you do, it's like $15 a pound, which means you're like $1,500 into just rock for the tank. You know, and so there's a couple of spots for it, but. And it also, like, you know, you think about the stuff that's like comes out of the Caribbean, super, you know, live, shipped in water, also like covered in pests.
Yeah.
You know, so cool for your first rodeo, but maybe not the one where I'm putting my Walt Disney into.
This is, I mean, a lot of the conversations that we have this like pendulum, right? On the one extreme end, you're either going to pay a whole bunch of money for this diversified rock. On the other extreme end, you have the sterile, dry, live. This experiment that we're going to talk to you guys about today, and hopefully comes out of the other end, is a happy medium. Like, how can we get this diversity without spending a ton of money?
I think another one of these is, I bet you in many cases, and we're going to find the answer to this, corals actually provided a lot of that biome. So when you put the coral in, the coral actually has a bunch of biome on its base.
Who were we talking to when that topic came up of adding corals right off the bat just to get the biome?
You know, Jake Adams. I've seen him. I've talked to him, you know, on the phone about it as well.
He has a video out there too where he's just put corals straight into a tank. Said, no need. Who cares? Cycle, whatever. These corals got it.
Yeah, I don't know. Very interesting. The ammonia cycle conversation. Also, I think when you say cycle a tank,
first thing you think of,
98% of people out there would just say this is about ammonia.
Yeah.
Right?
If a beginner asks you, how do I know when my cycle's done? What's the number one answer out there is, oh, when you don't have ammonia anymore. You can't test ammonia.
Okay. You know what? I think the primary reason for that is because prior to today, a lot of that conversation was all theoretical. Other than the fact I can test for ammonia.
Yeah, I can't test for anything else, like what strains of bacteria and stuff are in there.
Yeah, seeing is believing. It's, you know, pink. It told me I got ammonia. No, so like the rest of the biome conversation seems kind of like a magic fairy tale, but I'm going to tell you for sure it's not. And, you know, I had some experiences this year, in the last 12 months or so, that really kind of helped me understand it a little bit better, including the new PCR tests that allow you to do it. So I don't know. Actually, it'll be interesting to see how those things come up.
That ammonia cycle conversation and things we can test for really feeds into this. I'm gonna jump a bullet here. So you know, there's no ammonia tank. My tank is cycled. So that's the difference between not killing fish and ready to look nice without all kinds of major pest hurdles like dinos, cyanos, these weird bacterial versus algae warfare inside the tank. So big differences between, okay, my tank is cycled so now I can put fish in and they're not dead, or my tank is cycled and my fish are safe, but I also don't have all these dino problems or these other weird problems.
Okay, I'm gonna say like, definitely the didn't kill anything is one bar.
Yeah. All right, my tank cycled, I'm not killing anything. All right.
But another bar is I set myself up for success. The tank doesn't look like crap and looks beautiful. I love to share it with everybody and it's easy and I'm not running into a ton of problems.
I'd take that bar.
Yeah, that's a better bar. You know, so and I guarantee everybody out there that's watching this wants to set up a tank or wants to set up another one or already has said would say, yeah, killing fish is not the bar.
Yeah.
Right. The bar is I want easy, high percentage success rates that I can do myself and share with others. Today, that's what we're gonna find.
I mean, how many new beginners or newbies or whatever you want to call them in the hobby have probably just quit in the middle of the cycle or in the first few months because they just couldn't get it after the cycle?
1 in 10, at least.
Yeah. And if you could make that 100% rate or like a 99% success rate, how many people could we keep? You
know, I might even say 1 in 2 actually ran into that. Just some portion of those people actually powered through the other side.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
I agree.
All right. So also now, also cooking rock has kind of changed. You know, people used to cook rock, live rock, and they'd let it, you know, sit in a batch of salt water forever. The organics would die off.
Cooking, not necessarily like boiling.
Now we'd call it cooking. Like you just let it rest in a.
Yeah. Turn the heater up to like 85 degrees in a circling vat of like a brute trash can and let it go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
But you know what? That really just kind of solves ammonia. And with dry rock or with wet rock, that would do a lot of things. A lot of that biome would probably make its way over. But with dry rock, I mean, you didn't really add anything.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. You know, you're like letting it build like what we called a biofilm. But what source was that from?
Well, and I know that's
what this stuff doesn't come out of thin air.
Obviously, apparently it does. Like if I put rock and sand in a tank in okay, so where's my bacteria coming from? Is it the ghost feeding shrimp that I put in there? Probably comes from a clownfish that I put in there with a fish cycle.
So I will say it probably can come out of a fish's digestive system.
Yes.
Come out of a bunch of different things. But like when I'm talking about it doesn't come out of thin air, a natural, like we're going to see in these PCR tests, like a diverse biome
that
matches the ocean does not come out of thin air.
No, you have to add it in.
A couple of things that process ammonia, maybe.
You know what we'll probably find is that, and actually we are skipping additives, but we're going to get into that. I doubt that even additives have the full spectrum that you could get diversity of the ocean.
It's hard to believe.
How do you bottle that?
It might be true, but it's hard to believe, right?
True.
All right, so introduction of PCR tests. I'm gonna show you one in just a second, but what is it called? Polymerase PCR DNA sequencer.
we pushed the little speaker button on that a couple times. We're like, all right, we got it.
But it's a PCR test. It's a DNA sequencer. It will tell you the different types of organisms that are living in your tank, the kind that you can't test for prior to this, can't see, and now we have real data to go along with like plausible theory.
Oh yeah.
And you can see exactly like how bad this went for me in a second.
Yeah, aquabiomics or aquabiomics.
Aquabiomics, if anybody wants to do this, you can go to their website and try it out.
We need to bring him back on because that live stream got a little choppy.
Oh yeah, Colby.
Colby.
He will definitely join us in the future. So by the way, Aquabiomics is kind of sponsoring this test. They're going to send us like 48 of these tests to test a whole bunch of different approaches to cycling a tank so you guys can see it. It'll be interesting to see if this type of PCR testing becomes useful to the average reefer, or is it just useful for research like this one? It'll be interesting to see what the community thinks in the long run. I'm gonna hold my vote.
Well, there was mixed feelings on like ICP tests and stuff when they first came out. Does the ICP test, is it now the ultimate test for reefing, or is it as we use it more and more and more? It's not the be-all, end-all. We're finding out.
I think I agree. There's a way to use an ICP test. One is to chase the dragon. Every single thing that's off by 10 points or whatever, you try to fix it one way or another. There's also just send this in, gives me a window into testing or my water chemistry, and it's something way off where obviously I'd want to fix that.
Fix it, yeah.
Exactly. That's the way I'd use it. That's the same way I think I'd use the PCR testing, which is to confirm a problem before I go chasing my tail.
Yeah.
Make sure that there's a legitimate issue here that I'm trying to solve and go solve it. So I'll be curious how you guys go with this. So my experience with the PCR test, Colby sent this out to me. My cycle on the 360 sucked. And I thought I was doing everything right in this case. We cycled the tank for, I don't know.
Oh, it was
man, it must
a
have been
long
like 6
time.
plus
Had to
months,
have been.
right?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is going to be no-brainer, super duper easy.
It's ready to go.
Right?
Poured in some bacterial additives and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to ghost cycle it too with I think maybe it was Dr. Tim's. Where's your rock come from? Tahitian rock? Oh, the
That
Haitian rock
That
was
Haitian
dry.
rock was almost like Pucani back in the day, where it was harvested from the ocean, so
Came
it
from
had
the ocean.
organics and stuff in it.
But it was dry.
But it was dry.
Yeah. So, but it was just dry rock and bare bottom, and but I cycled it forever in this tank. I had fish in there, and there's no ammonia, and I'm like, hey, no problem. This is gonna go well. I turn on the lights, and man,
All kinds of weird stuff.
dude, just like weird purple coatings over everything. The water is turning super murky and cloudy, and it's just like one problem after another after another. And everybody I'm talking to is talking about Biome, but like there's no vision into Biome. It sounds like a mythical creature. And like, yeah, like how do you solve this problem that you can't see, touch, or really test for? We tested for it.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so first one in here, if you can bring this up.
So you tested at however many
before we go in this, the biome testing again is DNA sequencing. So we're gonna send in a sample of my
Yes.
water. You get a little like sterile swab, and you swab it inside of a pipe.
Ah, okay. So
and
because bacteria doesn't live just in the water column.
You're getting it out of the column.
You need to actually scrape something and put it in there.
Yeah, so you do a little bit of water,
Yep.
you pump it through a filter,
Yeah.
put some preservative in there. You also scrape inside of a pipe with this
Drop
little
it in.
swab, you put it in its thing. And so you've got stuff that grows on surfaces as well as the water, and then you send it in, and then they'll tell you basically what's in the water. And it's gonna be kind of like ICP in the sense that I don't really know how much zinc I need. And raise your hand if you know. Who knows?
not even close.
And I don't really know the problem of not having enough zinc or more zinc. I know that probably matching seawater is a good idea, and the further I get away from there, probably the more problems I'll have. But like outside of that, nobody really knows. Even like the people that have been researching this for 3 decades don't really know.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll do this for a living. So this is what we see, is the biome report. Now, what you'll note here is to the right is green, which means good. This is Ryan's tank here, and I'm
Good.
red.
Compared against a typical sample, meaning like this, what is their typical sample? They've tested a whole bunch of reef tanks around, and they've gotten a kind of a good spectrum of what bacteria belong where. And in that ranking of other tanks that they've tested, this is where yours falls.
Yeah.
So it's not like a standard of this is the ocean, this is where you should be. It's kind of like this. I don't know.
This is dry rock. A couple of additives in 6 months of time landed me on incredibly undiverse.
0.4. Undiverse.
In relation to
Gentrified.
a bunch of other things they
Yeah.
tested.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. Now they break it down into actual families, and this is actually like a 16-page report that won't bore you with the whole thing. But on the left
Typical
is my sample.
Yeah, left is your sample, right is typical sample.
Okay, so I'm having explosions of different organisms.
What's
so
the big bright pink one?
It's like Vibrio something or another, and it's not what you
yeah.
think exactly
Not
it
Vibrio.
sounds like, but yeah, it's a family.
Disease. Yeah.
And so mine is a million miles away from that diverse report on the right, the typical sample. Something has decided to take over the tank. Okay, so all of these things, every organism in the tank is opportunistic. So given the right habitat, the right food source, they are going to explode to their ability to explode. And if nothing is preventing them, they are going to take over all the habitat and food source.
Yes.
Happened in my tank. Right. All right. So then a few months later, I put in some Ocean Direct sand. I don't remember the exact order of this stuff, but put in corals. We put a bunch of other stuff in a few months later, and I sent in another report. Now the diversity,
Look at that.
yellow.
So corals is the change here. Fish is the change here. And then just some more longer life in the tank.
I think I might have put in some additives, and I can't remember if we did the Ocean Direct before or after this.
But you were at 0.04, now at 135.
Getting
Diversity
better.
score.
And I'll tell you right away, too, actually, that getting better on this report, also matched what my eyes were seeing, which is getting better in the tank as well.
Was this after the Ocean Direct sand as well?
I can't remember the exact timeline on this. I wish I could, but we'll find this out.
We're going to find that out in the experiment we're going to lay out for you here in a second.
Okay, but also when we get to the composition, it's still
the
yeah, still not as diverse as I would like.
Right.
Okay, so this is what your PCR test looks like, and so we're going to run a test now.
Woo, this is a big one.
Yeah, dude. So phase 1 here, normally we would do like 2 of everything to get really convincing results.
Two controls, 2 variables, and then another 2 variables, and then that way we can get repeating results. We don't have time for that one in this one. There's 12 things we want to test.
It's not so much time, it's that we want a shotgun approach to learn shotgun type information, right? Test big, learn what we can, and then narrow down.
Yeah.
So again, I think like that conversation of the refugium thing. We tested all the lights. Okay, well, high-powered lights definitely grew the stuff way faster than low-powered lights. Not surprising, because that's where the energy comes from.
Yeah.
Then we put it on the tank, and we found, oh yeah, it definitely lowers the nitrate. In fact, the nitrate and phosphate, it works so well now when you overpower it that you have 0 nitrate and phosphate. It's now a problem. And then we took it to the 3rd level, which is, hey, if we grow algae in the back of the tank, will it stop algae from growing in the front of the tank? 100%. And sure enough, it did.
100%.
Yeah, so that's the progression that we're looking for. But starting here now, kind of that shotgun approach, so let's go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go look at the 12 tanks that we're setting up here. So this is 6 of the E170s from Red Sea. They donated to us for this.
Yeah, you guys have seen a lot of tests in these tanks. Some of these ones have had the high versus the high alkalinity and calcium versus medium, or kind of right in the middle alkalinity calcium. We've done the UV testing in these tanks. We've done flow testing in these tanks. So we still have all 12 of these Red Sea E170s testing with. Yep. This is what they look like.
They all have various lights on them at the point. So they were like some of them were
Hydra 26s.
All kinds of different lights on all of them. So we're putting skies on all of them.
Why not?
They'll all have rock. They'll all have some sand. They'll all have some fish. And we're going to test a couple of things here with them. One, we're going to test them with PCR, but we're also going to watch them visually. We're going to give it a 4-week cycle before we turn the lights on, and then we'll do a 4-week cycle once you turn the lights on. So visually, can we see what happens? Can we test it with the PCR? And does it match what you assume? Because I don't know. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. And then we're going to do that PCR test. I'm going to do it at 2 weeks.
2 weeks into the cycle.
So like, if some of this stuff, like presumably the live rock option will be good almost immediately,
yeah.
Right? We'll do it at 4 weeks, right before we turn the lights on, and then we'll do it at the end when at 8 weeks when the lights have been on for
60 days, yeah.
So visually and now tested by PCR, I think we're going to learn not only which one of these options end up working best, where some of this stuff actually intersects, because I bet you 2 or 3 of them that win this out will actually look pretty similar.
Oh yeah. So like there would be multiple options to do this better.
Well, I mean, if you do 12, I'm guessing that 3 are significantly better than the rest.
And out of those 3, I wonder how many of those what we would call success or do it better type results could you combine and maybe make it even better hybrid?
2, one more shotgun. All right. This time we also skipped almost all the additives, so you're not going to see the Microbacter 7s and the Dr. Tim's and all the KZ stuff. These are more kind of traditional things. I think we'll do another one on can those things do it faster or better?
Or can they help the ones that did these tests that did pretty well?
Oh yeah. Can you shotgun it again with those? So this one is not going to test those things with more traditional methods. All right.
12 tanks. We got 12 different approaches. They're kind of like in the set behind it.
You'll see us a little bit. Option number 1 is the control, which will have what in it?
Dry rock, dry sand. It's back here. So there's bone dry rock, like we're all familiar with, some Marco.
Bone dry.
And dry sand, like not even the live sand, straight up dry. And we're just going to put that in a tank in each one of these, did we say what we're going to have for fish or anything? Because we have
I haven't decided. I think it's just going to be 2 clownfish.
Maybe like 2 clowns in each tank.
Yeah.
That's all this tank gets. And we're going to see what biological diversity we can get from that.
Okay, So prior to this conversation, I think a lot of people would say, well, that tank will just cycle just fine.
Yeah, because it was, the options was like the fish, this would be a fish cycle, more or less, right? Put dry rock, dry sand, add fish, and let it cycle. Fish less, where you put ammonia in and then you feed the bacteria. And then something where you wait, there's a couple different options. But
I just think that prior to this conversation, most people would have said, your fish are going to live through this, and they probably would. You know,
but fish death, we already said, was a low bar.
That's a low bar, yeah. So but when we turn the lights on, what will happen? And when we do the PCR test, dry rock, dry sand, nothing else added, the assumption is this will look something like my tank.
Biologically flat.
Yeah, the assumption is that, will it come true? We will see.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Okay, the next one is, go ahead.
Live rock in dry sand, meaning we're gonna get some rock. We're actually gonna order in some live rock. We'll pay the money for it, get it shipped overnight, get it in here, drop it in the tank. But throw some dry sand down, put some live rock in, and I mean, that's the opposite end. You would imagine that immediately within like the first PCR test, this thing should be ready to go.
So in some ways, I think this is the other bar of control.
Yeah.
Like, this is the one to beat, right? This is the historical best standard that's now costs $15 a pound instead of $3.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In fact, sometimes it's $20 a pound. So we'll see, how that one performs, both visually as well as PCR. The next one, this one, a part of me is like holding out hope for, because this would be like one of the cheapest options to produce Biome. I really hope it works.
Yeah, dry rock, so dry Marco, and then Ocean's Direct Carib Sea sand, that stuff that you put in your tank.
So I will tell you, in my tank, when I put it on there, I had this weird gunk growing over all of the rock. When I put it in there, this stuff's pretty cloudy, and so it got dust and stuff, presumably, which had that biome, stuck to the surface of all the gunk on the rock, and then just melted away.
Yeah.
So in a matter of probably 48 hours, a vast majority of the problem was gone.
And then to raise the question, does that mean that the bacterial diversity was on those sands that got onto those things
Migrated.
and then just spread?
Yeah, outcompete the other pest, I don't know.
We'll
but
find out.
essentially, it stuck to almost every surface of the rock and, migrated. And so this is that questions, in reefing, most of what we know is actually conversations like the one we just had, which is plausible theory.
Yeah. Oh man, when I put the sand in, the thing went like this, my problem was gone. It's got to be the answer.
Okay, so
and it sounds logical.
We're going to watch it, and we're going to test it. We're going to find out if the Ocean's Direct actually comes with the biome it says. And most of you probably already know this, but the difference between Carib Sea's Relied is dried, sifted sand, and then they re-wet it, and then they put some freshwater bacteria in there that will help the cycle, but it doesn't come with ocean stuff because they dried it to sift all the stuff out.
Yeah, and that freshwater bacteria doesn't, it will survive initially, but it doesn't replicate in salt water, so it's kind of like, where does it go?
It just kind of helps the ammonia process in the beginning. The Ocean Direct, however, is never sifted, it's moist, and it's a breathable bag. And on the packaging, it'll tell you that it comes with the biome out of the ocean, which presumably will, again, when you put it in there, that cloud will go all over everything and if the packaging lives up to it, should add biome to the whole tank. PCR, we'll watch it visually. PCR will tell us for sure. All right, next one.
This is an interesting one too.
Yeah, where is this? Okay, there it is.
Number 4. Here we go.
Okay.
This guy.
Dry rock.
Yep.
Dry sand with a few cups of sand out of an established tank. Right?
So like a tank that's been up for
Where'd you take the
years.
sand from?
I don't know where he got that sand.
No, okay. So this is presumably sand out of a tank that has been up for years.
A minute, yeah.
Right?
We might have to go to Jen's shop and actually get a well-established one, because I don't know how many people in the office here have
a lot of us don't have
well-established
sand
sand.
here.
Yeah.
So we will take established sand and mix it in with the dry. Like, can I just go over to my buddy's house and get a couple scoops of sand? The stuff is dry, so it really doesn't have anything, like much of anything to compete against, especially if the lights aren't on. So can I get away with just taking a couple cups of sand, using the cheapest options out there, being dry rock and dry sand, and add the
Seed it.
Biome
Yeah.
with a couple cups of sand. I don't know. I mean, okay.
That would be an easy one too.
This would be even easier than the Ocean's
Than the
Direct.
Ocean's Direct. It'd be cheaper.
Let's find out. man.
Awesome. This next one's cool.
Okay, and you share the next one.
We just got off a phone call with what was his name from Aquaforest?
Aaron, I think.
Aaron, yeah. So we've got we don't have this in stock yet. I think we got some coming in. We have Aquaforest Bio Sand, and if you look inside, there's 2 little bottles inside of it. So basically, it's just rinsed white Hawaiian sand. Is it Hawaiian sand? Rinsed white sand. They rinse it out really well, I think in RODI water. Then they dry it out and package it, and then they send you inside 2 bottles. So what we'll do is we'll take a bag or 2 of this sand. We'll dump in the bottles. These are bottles that are meant to help aid the ammonia process, the nitrite and the nitrate process. Not necessarily an all-encompassing bacterial array, but this is your start.
So the way they described it was that it's going to process like the whole nitrogen cycle,
Right.
not just get rid of nitrite or nitrate or ammonia. It is going to be the whole complete cycle. And these, I've never used it, so I don't know. But it is a dry sand that comes in this bag and then comes with these little vials. But it doesn't stop there.
Doesn't stop there. Second part of this is the Aquaforest Life Biofill. And basically, this is a wetted ceramic media that has a bunch of bacteria and stuff on it. It says on the package, ready to immediate action, no waiting, live bacteria inside. And so basically that's what it is, just damp rocks that have some bacteria on it. And we were told to put it in a media reactor and run it for up to 90 days.
Yeah, so they say that they seed it for 30 days in an active system to get the biome onto these little rocks, and you can put it in a media reactor, right?
That's not it.
Okay, there's a third part of this. I mean, this is really interesting to me.
This is interesting. So the last part is the Aquaforce Life Source. And this is then they harvest this, it's mud. And it smells like stinky from the ocean mud. And it's harvested from some oceans outside of Fiji. I'm gonna open it.
Yeah, I know. You got it all over your plate.
I had it all. I was gonna do a mud facial with mask with this and show up on the screen here, but we decided not to.
Probably not.
But the stuff is just black mud, sludge, and they have a scoop in there.
Where did they say it came from?
It says from off of an ocean next to coral reefs off of Fiji somewhere, off of an island in Fiji.
I thought they said Tahiti on the phone, but
I think it says it on here too, Fiji somewhere. Anyway,
okay, interesting. So here's the thing. This one's kind of cool because
from Fiji.
There aren't very many people out there that have attempted to, make
like
a solution for this.
3-part system or a multi-part system.
Yeah, and so the proof will be in the pudding here, both visually as well as from the PCR test. But will the media that's been running in a live system, and will the little bottles in the sand create a biome in the tank? And in this one, I was kind of trying to avoid a bunch of the commercial solutions for this and just stick to kind of the more organic. But this is organic. It's the mud that's coming out, so it's not all that different than sand from somewhere. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting because sometimes when a business decides to tackle a problem, they will do it better than the DIY pieces. Not always, but I after talking to them today, we don't even sell this stuff.
No.
So
we have the mud and the ceramic media. We don't have the sand.
I don't know. We will see.
The interesting thing, I see some comments here about Fiji mud and all this stuff. This mud is actually different, and it's really interesting. There's a scoop inside of there, and Aaron from Aquaforest was on the phone with us today. And actually, even the directions say once a week, you take a scoop per 27 gallons, and you just kind of let it go through your tank. And it just kind of clouds the tank and then kind of disappears.
Okay, if you'd asked me a year ago what I felt like that, I'd say that's insane. But after watching the Ocean Direct stuff stick to the surface of the rock, Like if this actually has the biome that we're looking for on it, and it spreads out throughout the water that way.
Plausible.
Plausible, sure. I don't know. Let's find out. We'll watch it visually. We'll also watch it on the PCR test.
Yeah.
Next.
Oh yeah, and actually, Reef Keeper is here. Philip Tennell. He's the one that Jeremy was saying had used this stuff
really?
in his system. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to hear if.
Yeah, he says I cured my live rock in a trough for 6 months and added live source mud weekly.
Well, what was the result? Share with us.
Come on,
I
Phil.
can't wait to hear.
Okay.
All right.
Next one. That one's going to be an interesting one.
This one is actually also a little bit more traditional method, and like if this works out,
Yeah.
I think it's going to create a whole market at your local fish store for this.
This is the one that we've been saying for a long time. In our $1 Million Idea episodes and things like that, is for live fish stores to seed some of these ceramic media blocks and then add it with dry sand, dry rock.
Dry rock here, dry sand, and a media block that's been running in an active, successful system. So we'll take it out of that. We'll take one out of one of those systems, and we'll put it into a brand new system. Does it bring all of that biome to that tank? As simple as a little block that you could pick up. Because if that's the case, every local fish store in the world should have 50 of these things in all their tanks and help everybody be more successful right off the bat.
For sure.
I can't wait to see if that is the answer to this question. All right, next one.
Let's see. Oh, this was interesting too. Blast from the past. You got them over there.
Bio balls.
Bio balls. So soak some bio balls in an established system for. You should put a timeline on these because we're gonna have to get them soaking really soon.
I got them already. Need to know.
Bio balls?
I have bio balls in the 360 at my house right now, and just for almost like this purpose. The reason I have the bio balls actually running, I have them in the second chamber of my media reactor.
Yeah.
And I have them in there in case I want to set up a quick filter for quarantine. So I can take the bio balls out. They have the bacteria on them. I can put them in a filter, and it can help me quarantine my fish. I have an active filter. People do that with sponges sometimes, but the sponges are hard to clean. Where these things can be cleaned to parasites really easy.
Yeah.
This is what Elliot has told me to do anyway.
Oh, interesting.
So I've been having these things at home now forever.
We're gonna put them in a reactor.
Yep.
And then on the tank.
We'll put them in
Dry rock, dry sand.
in a reactor and put them in the tank, and we will see. And probably could just put them in the media basket in the back of the E170.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, can something is asking your friend to put some bio balls in their tank for a couple of months before you decide to set up your own tank, or the fish store sells some done bio balls. Can this solve the problem again? Hopefully, because that'd be really cheap and easy.
Oh man. Oh, in the same frame of reference though too. Can you do the sponge filter? Mm-hmm. This is a common one. Like this is that I need a hospital tank or a quarantine tank or something. Mm-hmm. I've seeded this little sponge filter in a main display for a long time. Now I'm gonna pull it out and drop it in another tank, ready to go.
A lot of people will just throw this sponge somewhere in the tank that has flow, so we'll build up that source of bacteria. And then if you ever need that hospital tank or the quarantine tank, you can just throw this thing in there and instantly you recycled your tank. The reason that Elliot told me not to use these things is because it's hard to get all the parasites out of them and clean it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
So it's become less common for that. But like for this, what if I said, run some sponge filter at the local fish store, or if I ran some sponge filter at my buddy Jerry's house, and I could just bring this home. Let's find out how it works.
Sponge filter. Oh, I missed one, number 8. That one's gonna be cool. That's right here.
Boom. Insta-tank.
We've done a lot of Insta-tanks, haven't we?
Yeah, so
and they seem to work just fine.
There's an SPS frag in here.
Yep.
I'm curious if it's the SPS frag we'll use, or if it will be
some LPS and
some of the base on it. It has a rock attached to it, kind of.
But the point of this one is, all right, can I set up dry rock, dry sand, and fill it full of a bunch of corals? And will the bacteria that lives on the skeleton, on the bases, on all these different corals, will it then naturally seed my biome and make the cycle easier? That would be one of the funnest cycles. If it worked out to be one of the top
Buy some
ones,
coral?
I get Insta Tank, plus I get a diversified biome. You got me sold.
Buy the stuff I was already going to buy and buy it quicker, put it in there faster, have
Enjoy my tank
a
faster.
robust tank right away.
Awesome.
Win, win, win.
Man, I hope that one works out.
I almost want to call this one the Jake Adams test, right? Because really that's a lot of things that he suggests to do is put the corals in, the corals will start to provide some of that biome right away. And so
we'll print his picture and put it on, slap it on the side of that
one.
tank.
We have to ask Jake for permission for his likeness. But yeah, Insta Tank, man, this one would be really cool because what if the corals really were the source of biome? And then what we're learning is like, the 100-month cycle without any biome is useless.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And like, just for a reference point, a lot of, we've talked a lot about the 4-month cycle, and dude, we're all fallible here, and you don't always connect all the dots. But when WWC was talking about that 4-month cycle,
yes,
they were talking about live rock.
Yeah.
They were not talking about dry rock, or you're talking about dry rock that was mixed with a bunch of live rock
Correct.
for a pretty long period of time. So
changes the whole scape.
And you miss one detail.
Yeah, that one detail can throw the whole thing off.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Insta Tank.
it'll be very interesting.
I hope that one works.
Okay, this one.
I like this one.
This one is actually going to come from my tank.
Yeah,
right
here.
Oh, okay. Or no, not maybe this one won't be the water one.
Oh,
yes.
number 10.
Number 10. Oh yes, you're right. Dry rock, dry sand,
and
water from established tank.
Somebody's water from the tank.
Yeah,
I think
maybe we'll take it out of the 160. I mean, that tank has been the oldest tank in the building, I
It's
think.
running up on 7 years here. So
Nobody will question the success of that tank. So, dry rock, dry sand, water from an established tank, does that add the biome to the tank that you need?
And there's a lot of people that still, personally, I do not believe that there is much bacteria in the water column for this to actually work. I'd love to be pleasantly surprised. But it will be interesting to see measuring the diversity of even just established tank water against the control of just dry rock and dry sand. And you might be surprised that there actually is some bacteria in that floating around in that water column. I don't know.
If you were going to make me bet right now, I would bet this is not going to do anything as good as most of these other ones.
Not going to?
Yeah, it will not work as good. But let's find out.
I like to be
the
wrong.
answer, plausible theory, throw it in the trash. Take the try, plausible theory, shotgun approach, we'll find out. All right. Next one. Oh, Real Reef.
Oh,
Where's
yeah,
that?
it's right there.
Okay.
Got a whole box of it over here.
Next one is Real Reef and dry sand. Real Reef is an interesting one because this is man-made rock, which is a little different.
Yes.
It actually often comes with organisms living on it. Like you can often see little bits of algae and stuff growing on it.
They've got them in troughs and whatnot. Yeah.
It's been spent I think months growing in an outdoor trough, getting the bacteria on it, and it's delivered to you wet inside of some
some damp paper.
Damp paper?
Yeah, paper towels. Yeah.
So what biome will come on the Real Reef and then make its way into the tank?
That one's interesting because we've done this rock. So this kind of feeds two of the approaches here that we've seen as a success here. The 5-minute guide. We took Real Reef rock, put it in a tank, put corals in the tank within days, and during that whole entire series, the 4 to 6 weeks those things were set up, looked great all the time. Not hardly a cycle.
I'm kind of hoping to root for this one because if it adds the biome we like, it also looks nice day one.
Yeah, it's purple.
Right, so it looks a little dark here, but once you put it under actual light in a bucket of water, it looks really good.
And it's not, there's some purple rock out there, you're like, that's not very natural
fluorescent
looking.
purple?
Yeah, but this even being the dark, brown purple kind of the look to it, I've seen multiple tanks now with this Real Reef Aquascape rock right off. I did my mom's in Real Reef rock. Looks great day one. I like it. Anyway,
I can't wait to see.
hope that works.
All right, number 12 here. Now we're going to do something totally different. This one, established tank rock and established sand.
So basically, I'm going to take a boulder from the Red Sea Max and a bunch of, as much sand as I can get out of there, and I'm going to it's like a tank transfer almost.
We're taking it from the 360. So I'm gonna go in there. This tank has now been running for a pretty long time. Like corals are doing really well. Like all the pests and stuff are ancient history. This is an established tank and is doing really, really well. So let's go in there. There's those 2 big main aquascape pieces, but I also have a bunch of little mini aquascapes.
Oh, the ones
there.
you made for the fish.
Yeah, for the little fish boxes that I made for myself, and then the little habitats that I made around the tank as well.
Yeah.
Let's bring those. I'll scoop out some of the sand, and now that I think about it, let's bring the water too.
Yeah,
right.
It's like a tank transfer type.
All right, so
yeah.
this is an established, up and running tank. Let's port the whole thing over. Let's see what happens to this one.
This is interesting because, say you have a big giant tank in your house and you're just, you want to move you want to start a new tank. Can I selectively pull my rocks out, my sand out, my water out, and just start an Insta tank? You would think that there would be no change whatsoever to the biome in there because you're using everything the same.
Okay, so we gave you 12. I want to hear out of you guys which one. We'll answer some questions here too.
Yeah.
But I want to hear out of you guys, what do you think? 2 questions actually. One, is Biome really just about ammonia, or is the conversation progressing in a very obvious manner that it should into something much more global? Is it more about being successful and not having a variety of pests take over, and there's a whole array of unknown that could be tested for and is important? So which one of those things do you think is true? Is it just ammonia? Is it that? And then if you do, of these 12 methods, I got 2 questions. Which one in the end will look the best? Of the 12 options that we just went through, dry rock, dry sand, established rock, lock rock out of the ocean, a
sponge
filter, any one of these things,
biomols, the whole 9.
which one will visually look best
At the end.
And then
Which
maybe
one's the
most
most
importantly, or maybe not, I don't know, which one will test the best on the PCR test? I like, which one do you guys think? So maybe we got a couple of questions to answer here.
I wonder. Pull up that Rob B's Reef, still in the queue down further. There you go. Rob B is asking, he just says, he's definitely be interesting to see the results. Maybe I missed it, but how are we going to establish or compare the results? Basically, our control, I guess you would say, is dry sand, dry rock, fish. The most basic of cycle that you could do, not adding bacteria, not adding anything other than just there's 2 fish in there and some dry rock and dry sand.
So I want to be careful, actually. This was an interesting one, because sometimes people ask us to be like a peer-reviewed lab, and that isn't what this is.
Yeah.
What this is let's take the concepts that a lot of people are thinking about, let's put them to the test, and then share the journey and the data, and we can all make up our minds together. And there is a difference between a growing and compelling story and absolute peer-reviewed science that is unrefuted.
Yeah,
right?
we don't do that though.
We could do that, but we would spend the next 4 years answering only that question, and we'd never get past that.
Yeah.
Right. So what we want to look for is, hey, let's do this thing. Let's do this approach. Let's find out visually which of these tanks look best, because that's really what it's all about. Is, hey, which one of these options will help me achieve the dream that I'm looking for, and then let's see if it's repeatable.
Yeah.
Right. Let's take the ones that really did well. Give them controls. Let's do 2 of them in each kind. Let's make sure that the results actually show the same way. Then let's do it on a display.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The best path, the path that produced the best visual results, the least pest, and showed itself in the data in the PCR test.
We're going to follow that.
Find the end of that journey. So,
that way, in the end, the goal is to find something that makes people more successful more times than unsuccessful.
Absolutely.
100%.
Next.
Awesome. And Philip was saying the tank is running now for just over 2 months, fully stocked with coral. Had a little bit of cyano, and I can't read the rest because it's tiny. And some bit of green. There we go. Green hair algae, cleanup crew, and MB cleaner now cleaning things up quick. So it felt like went through a standard cycle.
Sounds like a pretty similar cycle.
Yep.
Now, I will tell you, cyano is like a uncontrollable beast in some cases. It just seems to show up and seems to not show up.
Yeah.
The hair algae, a little bit the same, but it does feel like there's a little bit of chance to improve on that journey.
So he used just the mud, but Aaron was talking about using the sand plus the field media plus the mud, and he replenishes the mud and all this other stuff. So it'd be interesting.
I want to know. I want to know the answer. Because the holy grail here is let's set up the tank with the least amount of effort possible and produces the highest percentage results for the most people.
For sure.
Because any one of these options, if I put it out there and I asked the whole community, there would always be 20 people that raised their hand and said, that worked for me.
That will do that one.
Right?
Yeah.
And the people that it didn't work for won't do that because they're not there. Their tank is done.
Yeah.
Right? And so, it's really hard to get just from that. So what I really want is the highest percentage result. Not just the things that sometimes work out, but if I took 100 people, 85% of them would be successful with this path. And then when you're dealing with things like an organism, microorganism like bacteria, sometimes things just don't go the way that you wanted.
Right.
And that might be the 15% that always exists.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be awesome if we could actually get to 99?
Yeah. 9 times out of 10, this works for everybody.
I mean, do you guys believe
9.5 times.
Do you guys believe there's a 99% answer to this? That if we go hunting for it, can we find a way that 99 out of 100 will set up a successful tank and not run into issues?
Given all these, we had just came up with 12 options, and we actually had to trim some off. I think there was a couple where we were like, let's not do that one, because this one's more important. Out of 12 options, I think so. And I mean, what if it is buying live rock like it was back in the day? Well, there's probably a second best option, or a better option.
I think if you go hunting, you will find.
Oh yeah.
If you hunt. I do not believe that this is an unobtainable goal.
Yeah, and
we just need to put effort in to find it, share the results, and just progress the experiments further and further.
For sure. Aaron says, thanks guys, just wanted to mention that the material is a natural pumice, not ceramic. Oh, is that Aaron?
There's Aaron.
Yeah, that's Aaron from, the material in the Aquaforest stuff is it's pumice, not ceramic.
So we all thought it kind of looked like chunks of coral.
It almost did look like calcium carbonate, like coral chunks or something, but it's pumice, natural pumice.
Yeah, so it kind of looks like calcium reactor media, but lighter.
It's really light, yeah. So pumice.
So it's pumice, not
Thanks,
what you would assume that it was like calcium carbonate or something, but it's so light. So he's saying it's a pumice. Thanks for the correction.
That's Aaron from Aquaforest, folks.
All right.
SH says the tank with the donor rock and sand will win if the biome is already balanced, in my opinion. I agree. If it's already balanced.
I mean, it's hard to come out with any conclusion that the rock, sand, and water from an established tank won't create a rock, sand, and water. But I guess that's kind of a bar too, right? If it is repeatable that way, then that is the bar. What is second best to that? Because that's almost impossible for most people.
What also makes you want, okay, so, is that achievable for everybody to take established rock, sand, and water from a tank and then start their instant tank? What if that established tank that has, rock, sand, and water is already biologically not as diverse as another tank? Well, then you're just taking a less diverse system and starting a whole new one.
So there's two pieces of that question, because even when you answer that question about what does the perfect biome on the PCR test look like, the answer is nobody really knows yet. There just happens to be this intersecting points of what a lot of successful tanks look like, right? And so I think you're going to see that in two fronts, which is you'll be able to see it on the test, which is one thing, but it's more important what we see with
visually.
Our eyes.
Yep.
So that brings up a good point, though. If we find out that really is the case, let's test a handful of different established tank rocks then, because we need to find, whatever the result is, no matter what, we're going to have to repeat it to get to really believing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that probably for you guys, but for me, when I see something and then I see it happen again and I see it happen the third time applied in its actual environment, that's just the way now I will do it forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it really would take about 3 times probably to really get to the heart of it. But usually, in most of the tests that we've done, when we found a winner up front in that first test, it's actually the right one. And then after that, the experiments just go on to further prove it. So
actually, this is a really good question. James here. James asks, is there a connection? Oh no, I'm looking at a different one. Can you track the nitrates and phosphates with the visual and other tests? So he's asking, are we going to be tracking nitrates, phosphates, along with like the ammonias and things like that? I think he's going to, isn't he?
Okay, so I understand the desire for that one.
Right.
And we could. You know, some of the times the problems ends up being though, they like you track too much stuff, the story and what you're looking for like gets really murky.
Are we just tracking ammonia?
I'm not testing nitrate and phosphate uptake in this case, right? What I'm testing is, can we create a diverse biome that matches many other successful tanks in a test? And can I create a reliable startup to a tank that doesn't have outbreaks of various pests?
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. The test that has the worst outbreaks will probably perform the best in nitrate and phosphate because those organisms will soak up all. All the photosynthetic things will soak up all the nitrate and phosphate. So I just talked myself out of this. I don't think that we will test nitrate and phosphate because I think that it will be confusing and it will detract from the results.
Yep, I like that. Mike, $20 from Mike. Thanks,
Mike. Thank you very much.
Said, you guys help every single one of us. Thank you.
Oh man, we haven't seen $20 in a while. Thank you very much, Mike.
Appreciate it.
That is very nice.
Brymax says, I think the true live rock tank will have the best results, but I'm a big believer in the instant tank.
You know what? So this actually answers a question that the guy answered before. He's like, well, I think the tank the rock that comes out of a tank that was already established, as long as that one's good, will work. Well, in that frame of mind, then, I mean, if we're calling good, the ones that come out of the ocean should perform probably the best or amongst the best. Is this bringing actual biome from the ocean? So, like, you know, one of the questions then is, should we get some of that, like that Tampa Bay saltwater live rock? Because that stuff is taken out of the Caribbean, put in a bag of water, and shipped airport to airport. It won't be out of the ocean for more than a day or two, and it will always be underwater during the whole time.
Yes, we definitely need
that. We should maybe scratch like the sponge filter, because the sponge filter
we have this live rock one.
Yeah, but there's live rock, typical live rock that like comes from Fiji, wrapped in newspaper, and then there's live rock that's shipped in water.
That's the live rock
Caribbean.
that I was thinking. Was the Tampa? We'd be doing like the overnight shipping straight from out of the ocean, ready to go. Might even have buttfish or something in there.
That one came out of that rock. We had. If anybody doesn't know what buttfish is,
we have
go
a
look
couple
it up.
streams.
It's pretty hilarious.
We looked at it.
We had one here. If you ever buy rock, and then out of nowhere, a fish appears in your tank.
Could come from the rear end of a cucumber.
It could. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. You know, so like this test, I think we're gonna have it up and running inside of probably 2 weeks here, because we got a lot of it close. You just got to install some things. So
as long as we have this, you know, the stuff seeded, like the sponge should already be seeded somewhere. The marine pier should already. The bio balls you already have seeded. There's a few places.
So here's the thing. I kind of really want to make the Tampa Bay option fit in here, because it's actually one of the options. It comes with like a reasonable amount of pests on it, but it is one of the readily available options to get actual livestock rock in the United States. So I feel like that should make it in the matrix.
There's 3 or 4 or 5 comments in here that are saying yes, get it shipped in water, get it straight from the ocean, do it, yes. So,
all right, enough said. Let's do it.
All right.
Maybe we'll kill the sponge filter one. We only have 12 tanks here, so.
Yeah, we could shotgun blast. If you think about it, the sponge filter might might work out being the same as like the bio balls or
Agreed.
the ceramic media.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you test three of the same things?
Thank you, guys.
Okay, good job.
All right. Anybody else got any questions?
No, looks like we're good.
We got a lot of them here.
All right.
All right. So, I don't know. This week in Reefing, learned something new about Biome. I can't wait to see what the results of this are. I bet you this thing is up and running inside of 2 weeks.
And then we've got our first test 2 weeks after that, another test 2 weeks after that, and then another test 4 weeks after that. So
Yeah.
watch for an update here before mid-October for sure.
Guarantee we learned something new.
Oh,
and really
so
that's
exciting.
the goal.
This is great. I
All
love
right.
this stuff.
See you guys next week.
See you guys.